Jellyfish-like UFO. A video emerged in the news of a jellyfish-like UAP flying over a U.S. military base in Iraq, sparking lots of interest around the world. Incidentally, in helping you get up to speed here, UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object, whereas UAP stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. Now, an acquaintance of mine recently brought up a video to my attention. This immediately brought to mind an encounter I had with a jellyfish-like UFO back in March of 2016. Now granted, the jellyfish-like UFO I encountered did not have the tentacle-like feelers hanging below the main body. However, the body of the UAP was quite jellyfish-like in substance and shape, bringing to mind a jellyfish. Now, I've noticed other sightings, stories, and video emerging over the years of UAPs also being described as jellyfish-like as well. So this is actually not a new phenomenon or descriptive term of UAP or UFO. So on the evening of March 4th, 2016, I was doing a solo ET contact protocol of my own, as I had been in the past years doing ET contact before I even knew it was termed as CE5. Just briefly, CE5 is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It is a method or protocols of initiating ET contact yourself versus them initiating contact with you first. In other words, you are the caller and you are sending the invitation to them, not the other way around. So, that night, after my attempt at communication with off-world visitors, nothing out of the ordinary occurred. However, I ended up having a very real-like, vivid dream that night of a bizarre jellyfish-like UFO flying over my city and hovering near my house. So this jellyfish-like UAP in my dream fascinatingly looked like it was made of a jello-like organic substance. It was slightly transparent, glowing, and was covered in tiny lights, especially around the bottom rim. It was also quite large and hard to tell, but perhaps the size of 2 or 3 football fields. My dream was so lifelike and so very real feeling that upon waking, I immediately drew a quick sketch of it. So later that day, now March 5th, I was standing by the window looking up at the abnormally thick layering of clouds overhead and contemplating on just how oddly thick the cloud covering was that afternoon. Suddenly, before my eyes, in a matter of a couple of minutes, the clouds straight out in front of me parted or dissipated, leaving a huge deep hole in the sky that let the bright sunlight through. And the incredible mind-boggling thing about it was, on top of all that was, that it was shaped exactly like the jellyfish-like UFO in my vivid dream I had the night of my ET contact attempt. So the saucer-shaped hole in the clouds looked to be about 2 or 3 football field sizes as well, and stayed there for about 15 minutes. Then, after snapping a couple of photos, because who wouldn't, it suddenly closed up relatively quickly within that time frame of about 5 minutes or less. I later created an enhancement of the photo and surprisingly found something strange in there. Multiple small UFO-shaped objects inside the rim of the hole, plus a couple of cylinder-shaped objects in there as well. Now, back to the jellyfish-like UAP filmed over the US-Iraq base. I kind of see how the UAP in the video looks jellyfish-like if you visualize the leggy parts dropping down below the body like tentacles. also observed it seems to be able to phase in and out to a semi-transparency. Oddly, I find it more closely resembles the Viper droids from Star Wars.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
All kidding aside, I do have possible explanations of what this droid-like UAP could be based on my own ET contact experiences. So, with an open mind, please, I present these possibilities. Number one, perhaps it is one of ours from the future. I said to have an open mind here. I'm talking about possible time travel here. And maybe even they, the time travelers that are us in the future, developed one of our fictional designs from a movie, like Star Wars droids. So it could be one of ours from the future, maybe even inspired by a movie design. Remember those Star Trek hand communicators that were out of this world futuristic in the very first Star Trek series? Well, aren't they a reality now? We have them. And that could even possibly explain the phasing in and out behavior of the UAPs as well. Time travel phasing. It's not that far-fetched to believe that a people advanced in technology thousands of years beyond our present capabilities can create just about anything that we presently merely dream of and design and create in fictional and fantasy films. And along these same lines, and speaking of jellyfish-like technology, look at this recent invention being developed to clean oceans. It's a jellyfish bot. It collects waste particles and oil. Now, what would adaptations of this invention look like 100 or 1,000 years or more from now? The second possibility, and pointing out again the observed phasing in and out behavior, perhaps it is visiting peoples from a different dimension. When I was doing ET contact work in the Joshua Tree National Park area of Southern California, we encountered insectoid-like beings that at one point looked like they were phasing in and out of this third dimension. If that's the case then, and we could not see them freely walking around us with our own eyes, yet caught a glimpse of them phasing in and out, then that to me possibly indicates interdimensional phasing, as from one dimension to another. Or something holographic in nature, yet capable of observational and viewing activities, and operated from another place or dimension. Some preliminary ideas in understanding dimension and states of consciousness is that first, they are connected. For example, one can be in the third dimension of material placement or plane, yet in a fourth dimensional state of consciousness, thus 3D/4C, or 4D/3C, thus phasing, or 3D/5 plus C, thus levitating, or the 3D body becoming still in a trance-like state of consciousness as your soul and spirit, along with your consciousness, perceives the higher states of consciousness and all that is. So perhaps the jellyfish UAP in the video over Iraq could be considered as 4D or 5D, and phasing back and forth to 3D, or time travel phasing from the dimension of origin to the third dimension in order to better observe this plane of existence that we are currently in. Though I do believe that many humans have their foot already in the fourth dimension of consciousness here on this planet, thus 3D/4C humans, plus some able to achieve glimpses of even higher states of consciousness, thus 3D/4C plus. Whatever these jellyfish-like UAPs are, I think it's important to note or observe here that some people may worry that these UAPs may be dangerous or even capable of some alien invasion shenanigans. I have seen and experienced no evidence of that. There is observational evidence, however, of benevolence and no ill intentions towards humans. I find it common sense that with all of the off-world visitors that have been visiting planet Earth and its people for centuries, and with such advanced technology from hundreds and thousands and more of years ahead of us, that they obviously choose not to interfere too much or inflict massive harm, or they would have already. I really believe that they are here to not save our planet, but to help us save our own planet and humanity. You know, fear of UFOs and aliens and non-human visitors is conquered with understanding. And where there is understanding, there is peace.